All right, everyone, we have another major banking fail. This one's more of a regional bank, the same as with Silvergate, as opposed to SVB, which was I think the 14th largest bank in the whole United States. Yeah, that one stung more. Now to the tune of tens of billions of dollars, Signaturebank has been gobbled up. The government now effectively taking control of the situation. They're from the government and they're here to help. I wonder why so many people right now are a little bit frightened. Now, in the end, again, despite having multiple fairly major banks and one very major bank fail in a short period of time in the worst purging of banking wealth since the 2008 beginning of the Great Recession, I still think that it is likely they will manage to maintain the situation. But it's just basically a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. The fundamental problem is banking itself. That's what led to this. A bank has invested heavily in something that then gets fucked by the Fed the second that they raise or lower rates, and you wonder why a bunch of banks became insolvent overnight. They begged people not to withdraw money. Please don't panic withdraw, because we're not going to be able to cover much of it if you do. And people did the inevitable, which is they said, nope, I'm getting out now. They took their money and they ran, and then the bank, of course, couldn't actually cover its actual value, its evaluation being much higher than its actual holdings. That's the problem of banking. The fact that that can actually occur at all is a little bit screwy now, isn't it? Oh yeah, the bank has $100 million worth of money here, but they don't have $100 million worth of things that can actually account for the money. It's all just funny money. It's all bullshit. The entire banking system and economic system we're using with this bizarre mixed model hasn't worked for people anyway. Look, they're going to step in, and they're going to use this as an impetus to push for yet more regulation probably anyway. And I noticed something interesting about all of these banks that had made these decisions. They all seem to dabble with crypto and tech. That seems to be a common theme here. Now, you might say, well, yeah, but tech stocks and crypto have been slumping in value, so naturally banks overexposed to that, they're going to have problems. Don't you think there could be something central behind the scenes that's responsible for this? Like, let's see, a U.S. government that is openly hostile to cryptocurrency and to tech-free speech upstarts? Don't you think there could be a connection here? I'm beginning to smell a rat when I look at the list of banks here. Carefully controlled demolition is what it appears to be to me. It's an effort to crush crypto, squeeze everyone out of the market, later on revive it in the form of a central digital currency, which the rich bitches will heavily invest in. They'll do fine. To squeeze money back out of the people, the entrepreneurs, the upward mobility folks of the internet era that have gotten in on all these things that generally have done very well. It's an effort to screw them back out of that upward mobility to make them slaves again. That is what it appears to be here. I sense something larger. I sense a disturbance in the force when I see that banks that are heavily invested with crypto all made the same mistake around the same time that just happened to be triggered by Fed policy. That's insane. What a coincidence. Only those particular banks were over-leveraging. Only those ones. They're the ones that collapse. Now, I could be proven wrong in, well, not that many hours here. If we do undergo a full-on goddamn contagion-riddled down spiral of all of the banks in the United States, let's say Bank North fails and then Chase fails and everything comes crashing down, which would be, it'd be worse than the Great Recession, by the way. It'd be Great Depression levels, I think. We just don't have the means to prop up so many banks right now. The money does not exist. The capability does not exist. We fucked our economy for several years with lockdownerism anyway. Hyper-regulation has strangulated actual growth. Most of the job growth you see is literally people taking out extra jobs because the single job they used to have no longer pays the bills. Love it every time they have to re-revise the old numbers from job growth. Like the last one, well, we added 300,000 jobs month over month, much more than expected. Not that much more, but somewhat more. Yeah, but if 90% of those are people getting a second job or gaining a job where a job was technically lost anyway because they switched, where's the growth? People are doing the lateral mobility thing and they're doing the shit I need to take up a second shift at Wendy's thing right now. And that's because of Bidenomics. If that happens, then my theory here is obviously wrong. That's just a banking-wide problem. And that could happen, although I think it's a 1 in 10 chance, maybe? I'm not panicking, for example, myself right now. I'm not expecting another Great Depression happens today. Well, local time it's today. It's still tomorrow, I think, in the United States, in the West Coast. But it could happen. If it happens, I'm wrong. If I'm correct, then what this basically is a controlled burn of banks that are involved with certain tech groups and crypto in order to destroy that. So it's basically like you're nuking a city and clearing off the debris so you can build a city that you like more. Like you want a 15-minute city, so you decided to get rid of the city that was already there rather than just, invent new infrastructure. You just said, fuck it. You just bombed the city, used it for a training practice for the U.S. Air Force for a week, and then you used it for training for a bunch of civil engineers to learn how to move debris, and then you came in and you started from scratch. When it's Silvergate, heavily crypto, Signature, heavily crypto, SVB, not just crypto, but also a massive amount of tech upstarts, including thousands and thousands of small businesses, by the way. So again, evil corporation thing doesn't apply. I'm seeing a pattern here, and it goes beyond the general explanation, which is, well, the Fed raised interest rates and the banks became insolvent, and people started panic withdrawing because they saw that the banks were overdrawn. That makes sense. Why is it only banks that are in that one particular area of investment that have been impacted? I don't see, again, there are thousands and thousands of regional banks in the United States. There are dozens of really major groups. They all seem to be fine at the moment. How an interesting meltdown. It's almost like something connects these things. Normally, if you have like 3 murders in a city, and all of the people that are murdered fit into the same socioeconomic category, they're the same race, they're around the same age, they're the same gender, etc. What do you start to do? You start to assume that there's a serial killer on the loose. Or at least a spree killer. Someone with an axe to grind. There's one central person or persons that there's some commonality between the victims. If they're all over the place and you can say, well, we had a violent weekend. At some point, though, you start putting 2 and 2 together. And I'm doing that right here. If we see a couple more regional bank failures and we find out that they were heavily invested in crypto or something like that, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. I'd be more surprised at a general banking collapse, although again, it is possible. I'm not writing off the possibility that Bidenomics has finally brought the system to its knees and it's just ready to give out. It's like literally the straw that broke the camel's back. You put that one more straw on its back and it's just fuck it. And it just lays down and dies. Considering Bidenomics, we'll keep the possibility open. So we'll hope that it's not Bloody Monday. I'm hoping that the contagion isn't there, the hemorrhaging does stop, and that we only have lost hundreds of billions of dollars out of the U.S. economy while the government attempts to hyper-regulate literally everything that you do in banking while squeezing out, again, totally coincidentally, a shit ton of crypto value and tech startups. It's a coincidence, everyone. Go home. I'm tired. Let's go to sleep, yawn. I'm bored. Let's talk about something cheerful. Now's not the time for philosophy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's about all. Peace out.